Hello, guys. Welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. So, let me just inform the people on the Discord that stream is live, and then we'll go from there. Yes. So, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. Right? So, let's do a fun one today. Let's talk about a fun topic. Let's talk about race. Let's talk about racism. Let's talk about black on black racism. Let's talk about the manosphere. Right? So these are an intersection of things that, mostly the manosphere stuff. This is something that I usually do not talk about. This is a topic that I usually do not cover because somewhat I think it's childish and I think it is somewhat beneath me, right? But I've come to find out that a lot of the ideas that are being propagated within the community, a lot of the ideas that are being propagated within the manosphere and the red pill community, they're very dangerous ideas. I mean, it's a breeding ground for so many bad things, such that it should simply not be ignored as, as childish, as something that will just go away on its own. Bad ideas need to be combated. However small my voice is, however small my channel is, I think it's compelling. It's important that I share my thoughts on these things. It's important that I share my thoughts on this topic, right? Of what is going on within the so-called red pill or the manosphere community. Because there are a lot of young men that look up to these people. There are a lot of young men that follow these people, and they are going to start normalizing certain bad behaviors because they see these men as role models. So when impressionable young men follow these guys on YouTube who call themselves alphas, and these men are in the business of pushing misogyny, they're in the business of pushing racism, even though many of them are quote unquote black people, they are in the business of pushing some types of negative stereotypes against black people. It's usually said that, oh, black people cannot be racist. Well, we have established that black people can be racist. We have established that. It means they can be racist against other groups. But the question is, can black people be racist against themselves? Can they perpetuate racism against themselves? Can they foster racist stereotypes against other black people? Or for the fact that it's coming from a black person, does it mean it's okay? It's not as bad, it's not as dangerous, right? So we're having a conversation, this conversation on Discord before this stream started. And Ogie was of the opinion, I hope I'm not in you. This is you can't take it the same way as you would take racism if it comes from, say, a white guy. Maybe I'm misquoting you, but that's the feeling I was getting from you. This was a comment. This was people just doing things to get clicks for views, which is possible. Of course, they are on YouTube, so they always want to get views. So they're going to do the edgy things. But the point is, these things are what they are, irrespective of motivations for doing it. Something that is racist, a racist idea, a racist thought, a racist behavior is a racist behavior, irrespective of the person doing it, irrespective of the motivations behind it. Because it's that kind of thinking that leads to the idea that only white people can be racist, say, against black people, right? So I think we should try to disembody racism itself and see it as not a person, rather as an act, as something. So I'm going to, I'm mostly talking about Fresh and Fit and their reaction to, or their fit with Power and Preach. This was few stars are a year, they are reopening that field. They're opening the reopening wound, reopening that battle, right? And they did about 2 hours training a couple of days ago where they decided to deride or denigrate Abba and preach as monkeys, as unevolved monkeys, calling them all sorts of black racial stereotypes, even though they themselves are black. While in the presence of, say, some other white people, right? They were doing all that. And then they went to another stream that was Eagle Stream, and they continued the out. So I'm just going to play a few of that and react to it as it goes. So let me share screen.
Hell, Bate man. Yeah, let's keep going.
I'm looking pretty. Hey, where's those for butt?
Holy shit, who's this guy in there with the red? What the fuck is going on? What incarnation fucking pussy shit is that? I know that preach.
Mad respect to minorities. What the fuck? Stop!
What?
I want to get another one.
I think probably that is enough to pass my point across, right? So what did they do? There were a couple of things here. So this is a black man calling another black man a monkey. And he did it in the context of a racially charged rhetoric. He put on a clan's hood, right? He was imitating the voice of a racist white man. And then he did the Hitler Nazi salute. Now, some people will look at this and say he was being funny, but this wasn't being funny. This wasn't comedy. This was being deliberately offensive. The purpose of comedy is to make people laugh. It may turn out to be offensive, but the main purpose of comedy is not to be offensive, rather, but to make people laugh. So there was nothing funny about this. And the dangerous part of this is to normalize this kind of behavior to the extent that, young, impressionable people that are growing up looking at these things, they might think then it is normal. It is normal to call a black person a monkey, even if it doesn't really mean anything. It's a slur, it's an abuse, it's an insult. It doesn't really, any black person can easily, not care about such insults, right? But it is a problem because a lot of people are going to grow up looking at these things and think it's normal. It's normal for someone to put on a clan's hood with all the racially charged history behind it and direct such attacks at another black person. It's normal. It's going to be normalized. That's the danger in all this. So these guys will come with very simple, seemingly commonsensical things, try to lure in young men and teach them all sorts of terrible things. We can say they are doing it for entertainment, but those who are consuming this, do they really think it's entertainment? Is that where it ends? Is that the context in which they will take it? Are they not going to translate it into their life, into larger society? So Stanley is saying it's normal in the US, or let's say not unusual. It's normal, but it's not. If it's normal in the US, it's certainly not a good thing. right? It's certainly not a good thing for maybe race relations, because some white guy will be sitting somewhere and say, well, a black person is saying this, why can't I say it? Remember when mouthwash was advocating for the N word, that white people should be able to say the N word? And that's a genuine question. If black people throw that slur at themselves all the time, what's stopping white people from saying it? Why would it be so bad for white people to say it? So if black people are normalizing these kinds of behavior, what they are saying in essence is that this is acceptable. It is acceptable to refer to a black man as a monkey while wearing the Klan's hood, also while giving out a Nazi anti-Semitic salute. A combination of so many bad things. So how is that normal? How is that okay? I don't think it's okay. I don't think behavior like this is okay coming from anybody, white, black, yellow, whatever. I don't think behavior like this is okay from anybody. And I don't think behavior like this should be tolerated, because there is no basis for anyone to be outraged if this was coming from a white person. There is no basis for outrage than you would be in this situation. So this is probably me being consistent on this, right? So if you're a black person and you do something as shitty as this, I'm going to take issues with it, just as much as I would have taken issues if it was a white person doing it. So nobody gets any pass here. So when you look at it and you say, oh, they're making comedy. There are a lot of things that Myron and his friend could have used to insult Aber and Preach. There are a lot of other things that they could have, but they decided to invoke racist racial stereotypes because they know the potency of such things. If not to, if not to Aber and Preach themselves, who it might not matter to them, but they know very well that this is something that is potentially harmful to black people, right? I mean, not harmful in the terms of physical harm. This is something that, certain black people take issues with. So they were trying to cause as much damage, emotional damage or offense as they possibly could, and then hide behind their shield of, well, I'm also black. So I can say this thing, I can do this thing because I'm black. I'm not any more different from these people. So I can say it. But the point is that remove yourself, remove the individual from the situation and look at the ideas themselves. Disembody the idea. It's not about the person saying it, it's not about the person carrying out that act. It is the act itself. It is the idea itself, which is terrible. And I will give an example. Say someone has a wife, has a mother, has sisters. He loves them, right? But he has misogynistic ideas and tendencies. But he does have females in his life who he cares about. Does that absolve him of being a misogynist because he has sisters, probably has a wife and has a mother? It doesn't. So remove the individual from the situation and look at the act itself and say, no, this act is unacceptable. That this kind of behavior is it's not acceptable. So, okay, you're saying that it isn't a question of passes, it's a question of what's deemed okay within a group. The standards are implicitly subjective. It should be okay, and I don't think it is okay. Within the group itself, I think within the group of black people, when black people use the N word for themselves, do they usually use it in a denigrating sense? Most of the time, it's usually in a jovial manner or it's usually in a jestful manner. That is not the case here. Do black people use the clown's hood and use a Nazi salute as a form of it's accepted within the culture to insult another black person. Is that also accepted within the culture? That you can walk up to another black person wearing a Klan's hood, speaking in the voice of a white supremacist, and then giving the Nazi salute. Is that also acceptable? So even if it is acceptable, I think that there are certain behaviors within groups that are toxic, that are bad, that should be done away with. Just because they are acceptable within the community does not make it right, does not mean that it is okay. Even if we can recognize the fact that this is something that is acceptable within that community, it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it, in my opinion, any less racist because it is acceptable or because it is coming from black people themselves. Because the implications is that once black people can do it, then there should be nothing logically stopping other white people from doing it as well. There should be nothing logically stopping any white man having a beef with a black man to call them monkeys while wearing a Klan's hood and giving out Nazi salutes. There should be nothing logically wrong with them doing that. But we have to look at itself. Okay, you keep saying that my comparison makes it a whataboutism. The subject can be discussed without inferring to another group. Is the other group the standard? It's not a whataboutism. I'm trying to explain a point. I'm trying to put it in a broader context, right? It's not a whataboutism. I am saying that this particular incident, I could make my case without saying invoking other groups. I could make my case without invoking other group. But what I'm also saying is that it is possible, given that this is acceptable within, quote unquote, the black community, it is possible for other groups to look at it and say, well, if they can do it, why can't we? There are a lot of black people that have called for all black people to stop using the N-word. Is it because within their group it's something denigrating? But it's because they understand that there are other people that can use it for sinister purposes. So how about everybody stops using it? So even if you think you think it's a whataboutism, no, I'm trying to make a larger point, and this point is not totally divorced from what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to drive home a point. I'm trying to paint a picture for you. The act itself. So why I'm invoking bringing in a white man is, in the context that the white man says these things, even in a comedic fashion, immediately there will be backlash. So to me, in my mind, the person per se that makes it bad, it's the act itself. So it's not any better when it's a black person saying this. It's not any worse when it's a white person saying this. It's exactly the same thing. So, okay, it's not a whataboutism. If you think it is, well, no problem. But I think I've talked for a while now. Let me open the stream so that others can call in. Wolf, I hope you can call in. Stanley, I hope you can call in. Ogie is at work, so he might not be able to call in. But any other person that wants to call in can call in. I was going to play some other parts of the video where Nick Fuentes was now in the stream, and they were talking about Nick putting on the Klan's hood, and then Nick said, well, he was just going to do it with the MAGA hat instead. So you were going to do a racially charged show with the MAGA hat. And then when some people say, oh, MAGA is sort of associated with racism, you say, oh, no, it's not. But people like this are actually making that association. Nick Fuentes was saying he was going to do that impression with a MAGA hat on. And in that video, I don't want to play everything. Just Pearly Things, which is another white girl who was there, had the good sense. You could see that she was visibly uncomfortable with what they were doing. She had the good sense to just remove herself from the situation. She slowly slid out of the stream and just shut off her stream because she knew what they were doing. And this is not somebody you can say she's not the brightest bulb in the room, but she just knew exactly what they were doing, and she just removed herself from that situation. I think, there was another guy at back to caution Myron that it's what he's saying was not acceptable, and he was just shouted down and shouted off. And Snicker himself was acting all, oh, I don't want to that salute. He was laughing. If I was doing a show and one of my guests did something like that, they are out immediately because I'm not going to tolerate that. They are out. So for the fact that he allowed it to continue just shows that he, in a way, was in agreement. My larger point is there's a bad idea fester within the so-called or within the so-called red pill community. There is a ton of bad ideas being circulated in the space. So it's not even just about this particular incident. It's a string of incidents that when you put them together, you notice a pattern, a very terrible pattern, a negative pattern that needs to be addressed. These people have millions of followers. I couldn't care about the number of followers they have, but I do care about the fact that there are lots of impressions who are seeing this and thinking this is not behavior. They host a show with women just to denigrate them, to that and okay to talk to a woman. That's okay with deal with a woman. To see this, that's an okay way to talk to a black person. It's okay for you to answer. Why insulting black man, calling him all sorts of real? It's okay. That's the message it's passing. Oh, it's lagging. To another internet connection, maybe it will be better. Am I lagging in your end as well? Am I lagging? Please let me know so I can fix it. I think I'm using my fixed Wi-Fi. That's better. So just a minute. Oh damn, I've been lagging. No. How bad is the lagging? How bad? I hope it's not been so bad that you guys didn't catch what I was saying. You know that. What is this? So my point remains that bad ideas will not be allowed to flourish. Bad ideas should be tackled. Bad ideas should be, oh damn. Bad ideas should be nipped at the bud. And this red pill movement is just a mother load of bad ideas. Sam Harris will say it's the mother load of bad ideas, but right now I think it's the manosphere itself. And they're so thin-skinned, they're so hyper feminine, hypersensitive, emotional. So 1 minute, 1 minute. So, oh, the mic is good. The video is lagging. That's crazy. That is crazy. Let me switch. Well, as long as the mic is, as long as you can hear me, I think I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Just 1 minute. Yep. Good. So I think it's better now. Please let me know if it's better now. Let me know if it's okay. So Wolf was saying, okay, how would you respond to my question to Charles? If a black man said, I, N word, you got slave feet when you run, how would you address that? Mm, okay. Oh, yep, much better. I should have done this earlier instead. I hope the video was not so bad. How bad was it, Wolf? How bad was it? Just let me know. How bad was it before now? Okay, so back to the stream. If you want to call in, please do call in. Anybody can call in and let's talk. Let's have this conversation. Do we think that certain things should just they should just you should just let them go because well it's accepted within the community. It's wow, it was really that bad. Oh damn. Why didn't you guys tell me on time? Why didn't you tell me on time? Why, oh why, oh why, oh why, oh why? Who was doing the kidnapping? Whoa, who was doing the kidnapping? Oh, man. Um, yeah, it's calling, calling, calling. Let's talk. Let's do some. Oh, let me see if it was that bad. Okay. Sorry, 1 minute. So where was I? I I hope people who are going to be watching the replay are going to get they're going to get what I was saying because like Wolf said, I looked like I was being kidnapped. I wasn't being kidnapped. I was using the hotel Wi-Fi and it was crappy. I didn't know it was that crappy. Should have used my phone's Wi-Fi. So essentially, let me go back and sort of give the context of this conversation, why I decided to talk about this, right? So Fresh and Feed, we're having a feud with Aber and Preach. That started over a year ago, right? There was some back and forth, but this is months down the line or more than a year down the line. Fresh and Fit decide to reopen that feed. And they thought that the best way they could do it was to organize a 2 hour show where they used racist stereotypes against Aber and Preach, where they called them monkeys, and all invoking all manner of racist stereotypes. And after that, they went to another show. They went on another show, Sneaker's show, reviewed that video, and did even worse things. Now, this time, instead of just saying racist things to Abba and Preach, they decided to take it up a notch. What would be better than, invoking a Klansman, imitating a Klansman, imitating the voice of a white racist Klansman, putting on the Klansman hood, and then giving the Nazi salute? Perfect. That's the perfect combination. That's the perfect way to diss someone. I mean, that's what better way to diss someone? What better way to clap back on someone than to use all those glorious things, those things that were so wonderful about race interactions, right? Those things that would make black people happy and gleeful, and even make Jewish people happy as well, right? Which Jewish person doesn't like the Nazi salute, or doesn't like Hitler, or doesn't like the Nazis? They all do. Which black person doesn't like the Klansman? And which black person doesn't insult another black person while putting on the hood? And then they hide behind the fact that they're black. Oh, yeah, I'm black, so I'm just doing a Dave Chappelle bit. No, Dave Chappelle is a comedian. You guys are clowns. You're not comedians. You were not doing a comedy bit. You were not saying anything funny. It wasn't fun. It may seem funny to you guys because you're childish. So any things like that will seem funny to you, but you do not have any sense of what comedy is. So you think that insults is funny. You think insults is comedy. You think racially charged insults are the funniest of comedy. You're having a beef with someone. There are 1,000 things that you could have said about this person. There are so many things you could have picked apart their content. I mean, that's what they do. Abba and Preach. What they do is they critique other people. They look at what you're doing, what content you're doing on social media, and for the most part of it, they are right. For the most part of it, they are correct in their analysis. They are often spot on in their analysis. So whatever they may have said about Fresh and Fit, I know they were most likely going to be right than to be false. So Fresh and Fit could have returned the favor. They could have done similar things. They could have critiqued Abba and Preach's videos or their style or whatever, but they went to the lowest common denominator. Why do you think they did that? saying, Charles, in your opinion, why do you think Myron was comfortable responding to Abba and Preach the way he did, if his language and comments are taboo slash racist? Why I think he was comfortable doing it is because, one, he has the shield of, hey, I'm a black man as well. Two, because he knew or he knows that thing itself is offensive. He wanted to be as offensive as possible. Do you think that he was looking for the least offensive way to insult Abba and Preach? Do you think that's what this was about? He was looking for the most offensive way to insult Abba and Preach, and he thought in his mind that invoking racial stereotypes was the most offensive way, was the best way he could have done that. He wasn't doing it because he thought, it's okay within the community. Well, first of all, when he was doing the show, it wasn't just black people that were there in the community. There were also white people there. And he was doing that. So as he's saying that is acceptable within the larger US community of both whites, blacks, Hispanics, and everybody, that everybody can, carry out such attacks on another black person, such insults such racially charged insults on another black. Please look at it from all the elements that you find in this interaction. If it was him calling another black man a monkey, okay, we could say, well, maybe he's just using monkey as an insult. Combine it with the fact that he put on a hood, a Klansman hood. Combine it with that fact, you know that this person is making inferences to something racial, even if they themselves are of quote unquote the same race. That's what. So Are we saying that there are no black people who hold racist views against other black people, like, or against black people themselves? Are we saying that there are no black people who sit down and say, you know what, I think whites are superior anyway? I think whites are better. I think blacks are inferior. Do you think there are no black people who think like that? And if you do find a black person that thinks like that, would you say, well, it's accepted within the culture, so this is not really racist or taboo? No. I think such ideas should not be allowed to, they shouldn't be allowed to continue. They shouldn't be allowed to be propagated. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of me, of me saying all this. It's not as if it's a big deal. I couldn't care less about the insults themselves, because I don't think it doesn't bother me. I've been on Twitter where people called me the N word before, and I asked them, is that supposed to offend me or what? It's not offensive to me personally, but I understand what they were trying to do. They wanted to inflict as much pain as possible on Abba and Preach by invoking such racial stereotypes. Because even the insults do not even make sense in the first place. They're not creative insults. They're not. So okay, so he wanted to be offensive, knowing he could be under the cloak of his social identity. Also, why do you think he was comfortable using the hood as a prop? Well, you tell me, is that a normal thing in the black community in America, that black people go around with hoodies, with Klansman hoods, to do things like that? Do you think that's a normal thing? Do you think that's a socially acceptable thing in America, that black people go around insulting other black people using the Nazi salute with a Klansman hood? I don't know. So you tell me. I mean, you're closer to the US, so probably you have an insight that's not available to me. But my sense is this guy wanted to be as offensive as possible. And the thing is, people expose themselves little by little. There is no telling what type of thinking goes through their head for them to feel confident enough to let this slip. That means there are much more darker things within themselves that they're not even letting out. You're saying, Charles, Myron only represents himself. Stop making this general. How did I make it general? Did I say Myron was speaking for black people? Did I say that? He represents himself, and I'm saying what he did is racist. Do you have an issue with that? I'm saying his behavior is racist. The words he used, he invoked racial stereotypes. I'm not saying everybody. I am saying this particular person did something. I don't see how that relates to the point I'm trying to make. I'm not making anything general. We are talking about the actions of a particular man. And you are saying you are the one who brought in the generality. You said he did it because it is acceptable within the community. You are the one who is making it about the general community. I am speaking about the actions of this one person. Wolf says, we had a guy one year on Halloween who wore the clan hood, but he had the black one and was joking, saying he was recruiting from the black clan. He did get punched through by a few people. Okay, so it's possible. It's possible from what Wolf has shared just now. Now look at it within the context, and even look at the reaction of the people there. It wasn't a normal thing, and you can see the comedic effect. This guy that Wolf just showed, you can see that he was making a comedic. He was trying to be funny in the sense that he put on even a black hood and said, "Well, I'm trying to recruit for the black clan." So you can you can easily see the intent there. You can easily see that this is okay. So let's put it in this way, right? What was the intent behind what Myron did? To be offensive, right? And to be offensive in a racist way. What was the intent behind this guy that Wolf is talking about? To try to be funny. And in trying to be funny, which was his goal, he ended up being offensive. But the primary goal was not to be offensive, the primary goal was to be funny. So, okay, says, yes, you did keep bringing it back to the group. I think you may want to rewatch your stream. Well, I would rewatch it, but the point I was making is not about the group. I was talking about the actions of one particular individual. And I was talking that if such things are allowed to fester, people would see it as normal, that it's normal for you to do these things. It's normal for you to carry out these kinds of behavior, to perpetuate these kinds of behavior. It's normal if a black person does it. So there is really logically nothing stopping a white person from doing it. Derek says Fresh and Fit has a channel that is focused on creating high value men. They became the very women they hate, extremely emotional and irrational. Spot on. I mean, this is spot on. At times, when people combat a certain ideology, they begin to take on the features of that ideology that they hate so much. Is this how high value men, is this how they behave? Is this how respectable men behave? Is this how men who position themselves as leaders of whatever sort, is this how they behave? How is this a classy behavior? How is this a high value behavior? What they're doing? To pick on the characteristics of someone, something that someone cannot really change, and to use it as the basis for your attack. Where is the value in that? And this is why I am doing this, actually, why I'm talking about this. This is the problem, because there are so many people who will come here and say, well, Fresh and Fit, the rock stars, they are helping young men. They're helping. The truth is, someone can be a piece of shit and still have some redeeming quality. Even Adolf Hitler was not through and through bad. You could have found one quality in him that says, oh, okay, this quality is admirable, but he was an overall shitty person. So for the fact that they might have a few insights here and there for young men, does not mean on the whole that they are net positive. They are a net negative. They're net negative because for every good idea they sell you, they are going to sell you 1,000 bad ideas. For every good idea they sell you, they'll sell you 1,000 bad ideas. And that is why these ideologies, that is why they are dangerous. People keep thinking maybe social media has no impact on the real world. But today, everything starts on social media. Kids are being socialized on social media. Kids are getting their conception of what the world is from social media. And they're going to grow up with these ideas, they're going to grow up with these concepts and think it is normal that a high value man is supposed to act like this. That the goal of a high value man is to sleep with as many loose women as possible while complaining that there are loose women. Is to ask a woman, what are you bringing to the table aside from your sex and your beauty? And then when they find a woman who has more to offer, they say, well, I don't need your money. I don't need any other thing. I just want you to be pretty. The contradiction, that's what they want. Their message is not consistent. Their message does not create any value. It doesn't help anyone. It's crazy. So Wolf is saying Fresh and Fit is a wannabe Kevin Samuels. In my view, Kevin Samuels was right on single men and women, but he was wrong on married women. The thing with Kevin Samuel himself, evil in himself, evil Kevin Samuels, I had some sort of issues with him because he was just as combative as the women he was talking to. He was saying they were combative. He was just as combative. And I cannot just say, well, all his thoughts were stupid or rubbish. He did have good insights. But manner wise, approaching those women in the manner in which we approached them, you might see it as, oh, he's just being blunt. But if a woman were to speak to him that way, he would immediately dismiss her as, oh, she's emotional, she's disrespectful. But he did that constantly to these women that he was talking to. He was dismissive. So, how was he any different? What he's saying, social media has all but replaced cable television, in my opinion. All the news stations make huge money on YouTube, etc. Social media is accessible anywhere, but cable TV, you have to be at home. And that's the truth. Its influence on the go. It influences everything on the go. So, what are we talking about? My point still stands that what those guys did was wrong, was in bad taste, and yes, was racist, even though it was coming from someone who they looked like. It doesn't matter the color of the skin of the person doing the racist act, it is racist anyway. And such behavior should not be tolerated, even if, quote and unquote, the community allows it or tolerates it. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't give it legitimacy. It doesn't give it credibility. It's deviant. It's crazy. Well, I think I've ranted enough for today. If anyone wants to call in, you can. If not, I will be ending the stream in the next couple of minutes. I may possibly do another stream tomorrow, since I have some time. I may possibly do another stream tomorrow. And I saw that Andrew Tate put out a video on Twitter where he was saying he wasn't going to be giving free interviews to social media companies, that for any, no, not from social media, from mainstream media, that for any mainstream media that wants to interview him, then they have to give him $50,000 and a box of chocolates. That's what he wants. Well, good luck with that one. They're trying to get views off you, and by that, they are also making you much more famous. So if there's a way for them to cut off your influence, if you want your influence to be cut off by not getting exposure on social media, that's good for everyone. Less Andrew Tate anywhere in the world is a net positive. So Wolf is saying, question, Charles, there's a black rapper who has white face. Do you think he's insulting black people more or white people by doing white face? Well, what exactly is white face? This is the first time I've seen a concept of white face. Is there any historical context in which white face was denigrating towards white people? Right. So I may need more information so he painted his face white. So I with the thing with blackface is mostly it was used as a form of a caricature of black people, right? So in perpetuating certain ideas about, quote and unquote, the inferiority of black people. So that's why I can understand how that is a dangerous thing or that is a bad thing. Well, with this white face thing, I may have to, get more information before I can pass any judgment on whether it was just some stupid comedic thing or it was something much more substantial. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. Ogie stormed off. I hope you're not angry, Ogie. I hope you're not. You know, we've been having this back and forth on Discord. Trying to get our points across. So the emotions can run high and get heated at times. And I wasn't attacking you. I was mostly attacking your ideas. So we're good. We're good. We're good. That's the point of that's the point of this channel, for us to disagree, without hard feelings, without hurt feelings, right? So we disagree on ideas, on things, on people, and it's not a reflection on our persons or our characters. It's not because I don't like you or despise you. It's that I don't agree with your ideas, and if I don't, I'm going to disagree with it vehemently, right? So, guys, thank you very much for coming to the stream. I will catch you in another live stream. It's bye for now.